What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Coaching the Culture podcast.
Moving upward, can't be boasting about these vultures. Get negativity ocean. We just coaching up the culture. This for my sisters and brothers, stepdaddies and single mothers. Every topic we gon' cover, we just coaching up the culture. Coaching the culture, 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 coaching the culture.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Coaching the Culture podcast. This segment is called The Coach and the Queen.
Absolutely.
I'm here with my lovely, lovely mother, the first queen of my heart.
Yes.
Queen Ossie is what she goes by. I just call her Mama.
Mother.
And she's been correcting me ever since I was a child. It's mother, son. It's mother.
Absolutely.
And I just like saying Mama.
Mama. It's okay, son. It's all right.
But welcome to Coaching the Culture. This is where faith, family, and sports collide. This podcast is geared towards helping parents, coaches, students, families, and the community in general, and giving them information and tools to help live their best life.
Absolutely.
Today, our subject is the culture of marriage. This is something that is a hot topic, has been a hot topic for years now, relationships and marriages and things of that nature. Myself, I've been married for 9 years, but the queen
has been married for 45 years. Yes.
So she has a wealth of experience.
You better believe it.
And we're going to dive right into it, man. Like, we ain't going to waste no time. So, Mom, go ahead and give the people, your backdrop, your background, and give them a little bit about yourself. Let them know.
Yes, sir. Thanks. And I'm honored to be here with my son. I'm so glad that he asked me to come and be a part of the podcast. In today's society with young people, sometimes they don't want their parent involved, but I'm grateful to have a son who loves the Lord and loves his mom.
Praise God.
So, yes, I was born and raised in Mount Holly, born to a beautiful, loving family. My mom, dad, they was in church, so I was brought up in a Christian home. I always hear my mom praying for us at night, calling our names out before the Lord. And it was really not teen when I really gave my life to the Lord. And I've been serving the Lord ever since. And at the age of 21, the Lord brought my husband, Melvin, into my life. He showed me my husband in a dream. I actually had 3 dreams about Melvin prior to us even conversing. And the dreams was 2, I was in a wedding dress, and the other one, I just remember we was together. And after that, just the love for my Melvin just blew up in my heart. It was like stamp, a love for this man. And prior to that, he had been married. His wife was deceased at the time. And he had 2 children, 2 beautiful young girls. And I always loved children. I always took care of people's children. I was a babysitter because of the love I have for children. So even him having 2 children, one was a year and a half, that's Sean, and Keisha at the time was 5 years old. And so I married a husband who had 2 children. So it was awesome. I love them. They love me like I was the only mom they really knew.
Now, how long did y'all date before you got married?
Oh my, believe it or not, because I had the dreams, we dated 3 months, and prior to 3 months, we was married. Within 6 months, had a big wedding. God did it. It was a quick thing he done. Yes, it was all God.
So engaged for 3 months, married in 6.
Yes.
Wow.
That's not pretty much heard of, but when you know it's God, and that's what it was a beautiful thing. And since you mentioned that, when I had my Melvin, MJ, what we call him, when I got pregnant with him. First, I got pregnant with Andrea, so she came on the scene. Then I had 3 girls, and then I had my son. But when I was pregnant with my second child, the Lord told me, say, you will have a son, and you should name him Melvin Jr. So when Melvin, my husband, came home from work that day, I said, Melvin, the baby's going to be a boy. He said, how do you know? I said, the Lord told me. And I said, we got to name him Melvin Jr. And it's my pleasure to introduce y'all to my baby boy, Melvin Jr.
And I'm here.
Hallelujah. Fast forward. So after being married, God just blessed the marriage. And I came into marriage fairy tale. And we'll talk about that because I had my preconceived ideas how marriage should be. And boy, was I wrong. However, I'm still that romantic person who love, and that's just me, and we'll talk about that.
So, you grew up in a big family.
Big family.
How many brothers and sisters?
6 brothers and 1 sister.
And you saw an example of a healthy marriage.
Absolutely. My mom and dad. My dad was very affectionate. My mom wasn't as affectionate, but my dad, he kid her, he would play with her. And she said, "Stop, Robert." But yeah, he was loving and affectionate. I think that's where I get my affection from, because of seeing a loving daddy loved on mom.
So Papa was the affectionate one,
Yes.
not Grandma.
No, not my mom was so saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost,
Wow.
and that with a mighty burning fire. So no, she didn't care for all that little
It
stuff.
ain't right if you ain't got that burning fire.
Got to have the burning
You
fire.
don't have that burning fire.
Because it will consume some things.
Okay, so seeing a healthy marriage and growing up in a big family, of course, love had to abound
Absolutely.
in the household
Yes.
to have, everybody, a family that size, to be on one accord.
And I'm so glad to say today that all of my brothers, 6 of my brothers, are in church, and they are confessing salvation. And my sister Shirley, she have gone on to be with the Lord, and that was in 2019. But we actually grew up in this environment, Christian environment. And even if we went out on the weekend, on that Sunday morning, my mom would make us get up, get on our knees, and my dad, we would go in the living room. All of us had to be on our knees praying. Well, they did the praying, and we probably slept some while they prayed, but that was our tradition. Yeah, every Sunday morning, I don't care if you go out at night, come in, whatever, you're going to get up on that Sunday morning and pray. And then, we went to church when we was younger, of course, but after we got a little older, we had to make our own decision whether we wanted to go or not. Yes, loving.
Okay, so getting married within 6 months, being engaged within 3 months, that's something that was uncommon even back then, right?
I would say so, yes.
That
yes.
wasn't something that happened often, right?
Right.
Is that something that you would suggest for today's culture?
Only if you know that you're led by the Lord, because this was God's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're led by the Lord, yes.
Now, the Lord came to you in a dream, right?
Yes, 3.
Was 3 dreams. That was your confirmation. There was no audible voice saying, "Marry Melvin Sr."
No.
Okay. So let me ask this. Okay, so getting married after 6 months, and this being God sent, this is something that He placed on your heart in a dream.
Yes.
And told you this was the man
Yes.
that you were supposed to marry.
Yes.
So of course everything was peaches and cream. Everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be, right? Like no issues, no, like y'all first year wasn't a horror story. Like everything was good, right?
For the first year, maybe it was, because I was new to marriage.
Maybe it was.
Well, I can't remember our first years of any trials and tribulation.
Mm-hmm.
With the children, I, did the mother thing. My husband didn't want me to work, so I was stay-home mom. And then when you turned 4, and we put you in the private school, and I didn't want to be there with the people I didn't know. I was so protective of you. So I went to volunteer to work at Stanley Christian Academy so I can keep my eyes on you. And of course, I took the girls to Stanley Christian Academy. So yeah, I did what I had to do as a mom, and I did a lot of missionary work.
Yeah, but the question is,
I don't recall. I'm older now.
You don't recall what? You don't recall
first couple of years.
You don't recall? I mean, I know it's 45 years, so it might be hard to go back into but were there any challenges in the marriage?
Oh, there was some challenge in the marriage, but not in the first years. I can't see in the first years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first couple of years was, the honeymoon phase lasted a decent time. They say everybody has a honeymoon phase.
Well, I would say so. Well, now that you mentioned, I do remember on our honeymoon, we was in the Bahamas,
Mm-hmm.
and we went out somewhere, probably touring, and we was coming back to our room at the resort. I wanted a Pepsi, and so they didn't have Pepsi. So I asked the workers where was a drink machine. They had told me to go downstairs. There was a drink machine downstairs. So I had the room key, and so Melvin wouldn't go with me downstairs to get a Pepsi, and I couldn't understand why would he not go with me. And so I was just so determined I was going to get my Pepsi. I went down there. They didn't have Pepsi, but they had Bombay sodas. And I got 2 for me and him. And don't you know, he wouldn't drink it because he didn't want it. And he didn't want me to go. And I went. And that was the first time I said no to him. And I was surprised that I went on my own.
Okay. All right. Okay, so there were challenges like every marriage, right? And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think what people need to understand is that just because God called you to it doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges. Challenges are there to change you.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's there to change you for the better. So if he called you to it, he's going to bring you through it.
Right. And he's going to equip me with what I need to get through it.
And nothing is easy, right? Nothing ever is supposed to be easy that's worth working for. So, you know, I just want the people to understand, you know, even if, hey, God told me to marry this guy, that doesn't mean that, you know, everything is going to be peaches and cream all day, every day. There's going to be certain challenges. I believe that marriage is a mirror.
Yeah.
It shows you your true reflection and who you really are. If you're married to the right person, that person is going to expose that side of you and bring out the best side of you. And then, and that a lot of time, that process is hard for us to go through. But both on the men's side and the woman's side, it's hard for us to know or to accept the fact that, man, this person is really showing me a side of myself that I didn't even know was bad or needed improvement. And then to have to accept that and go and move on sometimes can be difficult, but that is the part of marriage, in my opinion.
Well, for me, not saying that I'm holy, but I really, because of my relationship with the Lord, when I got married, God had already put inside of me what marriage was supposed to be like or what I'm to do as a wife. So when I did get married, I wanted to serve my husband. So my idea of marriage was when he came home from work, I would greet him at the door. Sometime I would run out to the car before he could get out of the car. And sometimes he was on the motorcycle, so I would go there. But it was like to embrace him to come home. Now you're home. And then he would go to the men's room and use the bathroom. And then when he came into the den, the living room, I wanted to massage his shoulders. I wanted to give him the newspaper. I wanted to take off his shoes and rub his feet because he had been gone for 10 hours working, 8 hours working and travel. So I wanted to serve him, but he didn't desire that. He didn't need that. And it took something from me because I wanted to give. I want to serve my husband. I just assumed he's tired. He's been working all day. Why don't he want his shoulders rubbed, his back rubbed? Why don't he want his shoes off and me rubbing his feet?
Maybe he was sanctified like your mama. Maybe he was holy and sanctified with that fire like Grandma Ossie and didn't want to be touched like you said earlier. Yeah. Pawpaw was the more affectionate one and Grandma wasn't. So I'm glad you said that because I think this is another thing about marriage that I even had to understand, right? When I got married or even in a dating phase, my wife had to teach me that, you know, just because there were certain things that I did for women that I thought that all women would like, right? You know, taking them out to different restaurants or a particular restaurant or flowers, cards, and candy on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. But my wife quickly taught me that, no, you got to find out how to love her. Like I had to find out how to love her specifically.
Okay.
Right? Not just women, but her. What do she like?
Right.
She let me know first Valentine's Day. Don't be bringing no flower cards and candy up in here because I ain't, you know, I guess, I mean, I'm putting these words in her mouth. That's child's play.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. She was over that. Like, she, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, you know, everybody gets flower, cards, and candy the first Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes.
Now, if we make it to the second, I can up the ante. We make it to the third, it gets better with time.
Right, right.
But in my mind, I'm thinking everybody's going to get the same,
Yeah.
So, but to your point, if he didn't want, like you thinking, back rubs, foot rubs, you just coming home. But if he didn't want that, right?
Yeah.
If that's not what he desired, then you had to learn how to love him. And if giving him his space when he gets home is what he needs, then, you would need to switch up. Now, I'm not going to expose you, but I remember you still running up to him, jumping up, when he came home. I think you did it every, as far as I can remember, you did it.
Because
and I know he appreciated that either way.
the love that I have for him is just, I think a woman that loves their husband, they want to serve their husband and they want to give themselves to their husband, and you want to try to meet whatever need he has, even though I had to learn that wasn't a need that he had. But it took me a long time. Why wouldn't a man want his back rubbed?
And I'm sure you felt some rejection.
Oh,
with that,
absolutely. Because I couldn't give what I wanted to give when he rejected it or he didn't want it. Sure, I did.
And so, how did you handle that?
Well, I kept doing it because I felt like one day he's going to really appreciate this. But he didn't, so.
Okay, so looking back, you 45 years married now.
Yeah.
Looking back, has your approach changed, or do you give the same approach?
It's amazing now. He rubs my back and he rubs my feet.
Nice.
Yeah, but he still don't care for me to do it for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but.
And so you're okay with that, right?
Oh, absolutely now. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But that's really one of the challenges of marriage is really just figuring out specifically the person that you're with, catering to them in the way that they need to be catered.
Yes.
So now, being married for 45 years, what would you tell your younger self? What would you tell yourself the first couple years in your marriage? What advice would you give yourself now?
What advice would I give myself? Well, to respect Melvin, what he wants and not so much what I want for him. Mm-hmm. I think that's a biggie because I travel a lot and he don't care to travel as much as I do, and try to make him or keep nagging him. I can use the word nag because I say, Melvin, come on, man, we need you. Mm-hmm. We want you with us. And his no pretty much is a no. And that was hard for me to accept his no because I'm used to having people being for me, or sure if I nag them or beg them or plead or pray. And they'll say yes, but Melvin wasn't that type. So what I wouldn't nag him. I take his yes as a yes and his no as a no. And I'll just suck it up, whatever I have to suck up, the fact that he's not going to do what I want him to do. So that's been, really challenging for me to accept his no when it's something that I want.
Okay, you said a major word that I want to talk about, I want to dive into. They say that women need love and men need respect. Mm-hmm. Can you help the audience today, specifically the female audience, on helping them to understand what does that mean to respect a man? Because I think, especially in today's culture, 2025, the respect for the man has been depleted. A lot has to do with society and how things have gone, and men or women being able to get better jobs, and men not being, or especially black men have been locked up or deceased. And then so you have a lot of single parent homes, a lot of single mothers, right, that's having to do things on their own, that's having to be the mom and the dad. And so that has kind of taken away from the respect of the man of the house type situation. And so what does respect look like from a married woman's standpoint? Well,
from my standpoint, being married to Melvin for 45 plus years, I think we probably come up on 46, is to, when he says no, his answer is no, and to respect the decision that he makes, when we can talk about it. If his decision is say this is how it's going to be because he is the head of the home, and then whether I like it or not, but I respect the decision that he made because I believe he's doing it for our best interest. Respect his decision, respect his as a man, encouraging him, talking to him when he does something, giving him that feedback. Honey, I'm so proud of you. You did an excellent job. Just like every now.
Affirmation.
Yeah, definitely. Cutting the grass. I said, Melvin, the yard looks so great, beautiful. Thank you for doing that. I don't have to thank him for doing that, but I just let him know that is beautiful. The yard. When I drive up, it looks so nice. And Melvin, thank you for. This is another important thing. I think women.
Real quick, that's huge because we pull up to our house and my wife was like, "God, we got to do something about this grass. we need to call somebody." Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and I tell him, I said, Melvin, you know what? Thank you so much for bringing the groceries in and buying the groceries because he buys the groceries and I can go and pick up something. But I respect that for him to want to do that. And another thing, when he chooses to cook or he chooses to wash the laundry, Melvin, I do it. You ain't got to do that. And he'll do it. And I said, well, thank you, honey. But, I was going to get it. So when you thank him for the things that he's doing, you see things he's doing around the house or for you or for the family, you just let him know you appreciate it. I think a lot of times the men don't get appreciated for the work they do. And when we as women can just show them, tell them, and even giving them a card and just put it on the pillow, just say, honey, thank you for dinner tonight. He appreciates stuff like that, just respecting the things that he does.
Now, what would you say, what would be your advice to women? There are a lot of women in today's culture who are independent, who are financially straight, and who have been doing things their way for so long, but they want to get married, right?
Yeah.
But they're not willing to submit or respect a man in the sense of, because once, two becomes one, your money is my money is your money. So if I'm the head of the household and I say, hey, we don't need to spend money on this right here just because I'm foreseeing, I am planning ahead, I am making sure that we don't get put in a bad situation where we got to do X, Y, and Z. So I want to make sure that I'm providing, right?
Yes.
And so, but you got women who's used to just doing what they want when they want, which is cool. But I think that most women nowadays think that they can just add a man to the lifestyle that they have right now and just keep it moving.
Well, you have those women that does that. However, that's, to me, prior to getting married, when you sit down and talk with your fiance and you say, this is what I have, this is what I'm going to do, or what I would like to do, and he comes and share what he has and what he would like to do. When you sit down talking together and deciding, so before marriage, you know that we're going to put our money together in the same pot, or you're going to have your account, I'm going to have my account. All this needs to be done prior. And once that's settled, then no one needs to deviate off of what they said they was going to do, and trust the man to lead. And like I said, they can be independent, they can have this and they can have that. So a lot of times a woman don't need a man to help them because they're already pretty much set up. However, when you get married so you can be together, so you can work together, learn together, and do things together and grow together. So that means you're going to have to let go of what it used to be like. Now that you're married, you're becoming one. So don't think this is mine. It should be ours.
And that's one thing that I can say to, our followers and our listeners is that females, you should not marry a man that you don't trust, that you can't trust with your finances. And so go back to the point of taking your time in the dating phase. Of course, my mom, her marriage was called by God. However, today's culture, take the time to date. Take the time to date. And while you're dating, you need to be observing, how does this person handle money? How do he handle his own finances? Is he taking care of the stuff in his own house? Is he getting anything repoed? Is he late on bills? Is he is his finances growing, or is he losing jobs left and right? Those are telltale signs. If they're not handling their business on their own, they're not going to handle your business.
Absolutely.
And so while you're single and while you're dating, enjoy the dating phase, but you need to be mindful and be looking for little telltale signs, so that when you marry somebody, when you say I do to somebody, you're saying I do to everything. Like, I do trust you with money. I do follow your lead. And so I can only speak for, because the example of the man that raised me and married my mother, I can only speak of that type of caliber of man, and those are, and people who I hang around. I don't hang around people who don't take care of their business. And so that type of man is not coming to spend your money.
Hello.
Is not coming to use you for your money.
Right.
If anything, we're trying to build together and grow. And so find somebody that you trust, so that you don't have to be in protect mode all the time, or be in that selfish mode. No, this is my money. It's my, And I think, a lot of times in today's culture, people rush into marriage, and then you get into it and you say, oh, well, I didn't know he had this. I didn't know he was going to do that. So my suggestion is to take time. I used to always have in my mind, a 2-year minimum. Like, you should be dating minimum.
Yeah.
2 years. I say minimum. I mean, now it probably should be a little bit more, but I think the current culture of marriage is people get married real quick.
Yeah.
They get married quick, or they're trying, especially if you 35 or older, those people they don't have that much time to waste. They're really trying to get married quick. What do you say about that?
Well, I think if the people that date 2 years or so, that's good. But I believe this: if a person come together, they know what each other like, they've talked, and they have set their priorities down and say, this is what we're going to do, and they have an understanding, and so then they believe this is a God thing. Now, even being married to Melvin as long as I have, I'm still learning some stuff about Melvin.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can learn as you grow together. And in 2 years, that's, this day and time, because it's better to marry than to burn. So if a person can't keep themselves and they want to go ahead and get married so they can honor the Lord, then I say go ahead and do that.
So you think people should get married so they can have sex? I mean, let's talk.
The way you said it, I'm saying you have men that want to marry and they don't want to wait that long. And maybe even the women may not want to wait that long. But if they believe this is a God thing, if they know they've talked about their finances, they talk about the children, if they're being the children, how many children do they want? Do they go? You're going to go to my church or this church? When you laid it all out, and you believe this is a God thing, then hey, go for it. So, marriage.
I disagree.
Okay.
Totally. But this is why I disagree. Right. I do believe, the conversation is important, but talk is cheap. This is another reason why I say 2 years minimum, 3 to 5 typical for me, because that gives you time to not only watch that person handle finances, but also work with that person. I think that if you really consider marrying somebody, that you should probably have some type of, I'm not saying you have to get in business together, but some type of project that you're working together on, right? So that you could make people put their money where their mouth is, right? So if they say and they talk and they say, yeah, okay, we understand this. Okay, well, let's do something. Let's try to raise, let's try to save X amount of money in 1 year. Okay,
Melvin, MJ. So nowadays, you will find out that the man have money in his account, and the lady already have money in the account. So they're not starting from scratch. We're talking about a mature couple, okay?
Right, but I'm saying I understand that. I'm just saying, okay, so if I was as I was dating somebody and say, hey, we're gonna get married. Yeah, I might have money, but I might say, okay, we're gonna get married. Let's raise the money for our wedding. If it's $10,000, $20,000 that we want to raise, right? Let's create an account. we're responsible for putting X amount of money in this account together, and see, you know, that would show you a lot. If somebody comes up short, if somebody ain't sticking to their end of the bargain, if somebody say, you know, I ain't got it this week because I done went here, I done did that, that shows you a lot about somebody's character. Like I say, the talk sounds good.
And that's probably good for the younger generation, but for my generation, we ain't doing that. I mean, I can't see a person that's in their 50s or, you know, want to be married and they're going to save and da-da-da-da-da, because they should be already. We're talking about different age groups.
Coaching the culture. Coaching the culture.